Hi, my loves. It's Lisa. I hope you guys are all doing well and welcome to Scorpio season. One of my favorite seasons. Probably my favorite season, to be honest. Although it is definitely, I would say, for me, the most consistently challenging, and maybe for a lot of people. But I was pulling some cards, like some personal cards for myself, just surrounding the beginning of Scorpio season and what can we expect and what can I expect. And I pulled a card from this Wild Unknown Alchemy deck. And this is the inspiration for this reading. So I wanted to just kind of talk about it at the beginning because this is the card that came out. It is the Despicable Face. And I think it's really interesting, this energy. So I'm just going to read what it says in the book about this because it kind of just gets really into it. And I think that it will be a nice little prerequisite to get you set for what is to come in this reading. Yeah, so let's just start with that, and then I'll chat a little bit more with you before we get started. But also, the timestamps will be in the description box down below, along with probably information on whatever else you're most likely looking to find about me, how to follow me on socials, donate to the channel, book a private reading, etc. Okay? But in the book, it says the despicable face, what is hidden, unaccepted, or shamed. The despicable face is never seen. Rather, it is kept in hiding to save outward appearances. This card appears when something below the surface wants to be witnessed in order to be transformed. Just a little scorpionic, huh? Everyone has their own version of the despicable face and their own reasons for assuming it is an abomination. It could be a buried resentment, an insecurity, or a physical characteristic that holds us back from expressing our true self. Remarkably, once revealed, it is not despicable at all. It is human. It is interesting. What once was thought of as an error becomes an asset on our journey of alchemical transformation. This card connects us to others and to humanity as a whole. Through acceptance, we lift the veil of perfection and reclaim our energy. Honesty and acceptance are the balm that heals the most tender of wounds. So it says to go deeper into this energy, watch the movie Edward Scissorhands. Such a good movie. To ponder acceptance as enlightenment. It also says this card may indicate fear of failure. Some are so afraid to make a mess that they never cook up anything in the laboratory. Try. The mess is alchemy underway. Okay. It also says when this card appears, it's important to notice what company surrounds you. Those who can see and accept all sides of you are true alchemical allies. So basically, this is the mask that we wear that covers the part of us that we are most ashamed of, that is really just the most human part of us, right? To be human is to be flawed, and humans are just, being perfect was never part of the equation. Humans were never meant to be perfect. That's why we have the spark of the divine. That is the perfection within us. But the humanity element, I mean, take a look around. There's a lot of beauty, but we are a messy species, you know? So basically, this represents the part of us that we struggle the most to give grace to, or to accept, or to be kind to. It's the part that we wish that we could perfect. But the beautiful part of it is that through being honest about it, through being accountable to ourselves, and through pouring radical acceptance and love on this part, we kind of do transform it into something perfect, you know, perfectly imperfect, but basically it becomes the greatest perceived ugliness or maybe weakness or shameful spot that then becomes a space of great power, because we go to that deep dark place and we shine a light there. And to me, this is super scorpionic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at who you show the world, or the mask that you kind of are most comfortable wearing, or just the mask that you use to cover specifically the despicable face. And then we're going to look at the despicable face. We're going to look at what's underneath that. We're going to look at the root of the shame. So essentially, the root of why you want to cover that so badly. And then we're going to look at what spirit's perspective of your despicable face is, whatever it is. Okay. So we're going to get vulnerable. We're going to get deep. We're going to get, into the nitty gritty of it. Scorpio season, Scorpio rising, Scorpio Pluto conjunct, Moon and Chiron in the eighth house. Would not expect anything, anything different than that. But I hope you guys are all doing really well. I hope that this reading is helpful to you and feels just supportive. And I hope that you're all just staying safe and staying kind to yourselves. This is the kickoff, and this season can be gnarly. So don't forget to be kind to yourselves and others as our shadow side is unearthed. And just remember that it's coming up to be transformed. It wants to be transmuted into power. The poison wants to be transmuted into power. And this is something that Scorpio season is here to really support you in doing. So it's not the time, if there's any time in the year, to take out that mirror and look at that place where you fear looking the most. Honestly, the energies at this time are so supportive of that. And hopefully I can also be supportive of that for you as well. If you enjoy the content, then give me a thumbs up. If you don't enjoy it, give it a thumbs down. Either way, the channel engagement is super helpful and supportive, okay? Okay. Wow. Getting right into it. Let's see. 3 more cards. What's this? Oh, if you hear any snorts, farts, licks, all of the typical dog sounds. That's Django. You met him the other day, or those of you who were at the last live. My Rottweiler. All right, one more card. We love him. Okay. This is interesting. I get the feeling this is something you guys are already aware of and you're in the process of releasing it almost at this time. Like, whatever comes out, it's something that you already know that it's an insecurity that holds you back, and you are, I feel like, already working on dropping it. So that's awesome. Let's see. Get one more. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to tell you anything that's going to like rock your world in regards to being hidden from you. Okay. Which one is your... Okay. Wow. Okay. As I mentioned in the introduction, I'm going to look at the mask, or like what you would consider your accepted face, the face that you are comfortable, showing to the world. Um, and then we're going to look at the despicable face, like I mentioned, or what is underneath and the root of the shame surrounding that. For the mask that you wear, I'm going to look at, or I pulled, sorry, a tarot card and a card from the archetypes. And I'm going to read about this just to get like a really good vibe for what that mask is that you wear, or the part of yourself. It's not even a mask in the sense that it's not authentic, but it's just that it is covering another part. So it could just be the area that you overcompensate or like lean on a little bit extra because yeah, to cover another part, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a mask in regards to like you're being fake, okay? So you guys got Gnosis with Temperance. Gnosis is a powerful energy to come out. Super powerful. Okay, let's see what's going on. So this is the innermost knowing and mystic truths. Very, very spiritual card that's tied into a lot of religious stuff here, or energy more so. So it says, true knowledge is not found in facts and figures in scholarly books on library shelves. Rather, Gnosis points to the deep and timeless archetypal wisdom that rises from the felt experience of having touched the unknown with every one of the senses. Those who are drawn to Gnosis find themselves in esoteric studies, likely involving mysticism, alchemy, healing, or perhaps science. Knowing is their calling. Not knowing is their job description. No matter how far the alchemists take their studies, they come to the ultimate conclusion that facts slip towards mystery, and soon the mystery results in facts. This card signifies a knowing that is life-changing. Once you experience it, you are forever changed and become a guardian of Gnosis. The eternal mystery is calling you. Study your passion in the deepest way available to you. So the light aspect of this energy is contemplating the mystery and unanswerable questions, and the shadow element is over-intellectualizing, literalizing, and always feeling like you have to ask others for the answer. And this came out as the mask that you feel most comfortable, or the face that you feel most comfortable showing the world, let's say that. And it came out with Temperance. Like so. And this is Sagittarian energy, or their major arcana card in the tarot. Okay. So Temperance is this card represents being harmonized and unified within yourself, specifically between your light and your shadow, or all of your body's elements, whatever you want, however you want to look at it. You can look at it as like your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all of your bodies. You can look at it like your yin yang energies. You can just, however you feel it resonates most with you, but it's just a unification of the self, basically, that creates internal peace and harmony. And Temperance, then you can also, the world around you becomes more tempered. Your experiences or your responses to the world around you become more tempered as well, because you're carrying that peace within you, essentially. So let's get a little more clarification on this. Let us see more about this. So essentially you feel comfortable being seen as, it's innocent. It's an innocent energy I'm getting from this, but it's not naive. It's interesting because it's like innocent but all-knowing, which is very much like angelic. Makes me think of like angelic energy, which there's an angel on this card. because I can't think of anything else that is that what that's energy is like totally pure and innocent, but also all knowing. So you feel as though that is the face that you are comfortable showing the world. It's like, it's interesting because it's almost as if you're saying, I have the answers or the wisdom of someone who has seen some shit or who's been around the block. However, I'm showing it to you in a very childlike, almost innocent way. Not childlike, like naive or immature. It's more so, it's like that sense of natural awe and wonder and curiosity that children have. And that's why they're so smart, because their brains are like, they're so open, right? And to them, before they really learn, it's like things aren't necessarily good or bad. Things are just, what is that, right? And then it's more about observing or trying to understand something, I feel like, for children, than labeling it good or bad at the beginning, right? So maybe that's part of this as well. But there's an openness and an innocence and definitely a deep inner knowing. But again, it's not like a textbook knowing or book smart. It's like a spiritual knowing. Okay. Some of you grew up in very religious or spiritual homes, or you had that upbringing. Strength, yeah. That's interesting because that might actually be something that was very strong at some point in your life that you walked away from or that you are walking away from. But I don't feel it's like you're walking away from your connection to God or anything like that, or spirit. I feel like it's you're walking away from maybe some sort of community, specific community. So that could have a part to play for sure. Like if you, how do I say this? Sometimes, and not always, but depending on the community that you grow up in, or your family, or your religion, or whatever the case may be, there can be a focus specifically on the image, right? The external, rather than like what is actually happening or what is reality. Like how are things supposed to look, maybe, versus how they really are. So that could have played a part in what made you like see this version of yourself as what is acceptable and what you feel most comfortable putting forwards. Okay. So what is the despicable face, quote unquote? It sounds so dramatic. Um, or yeah, what is underneath that? So you have the Six of Pentacles. Okay. You know what's really interesting that's coming to me with this is actually a biblical story. So you guys definitely could have some sort of upbringing that was either Christian, or it doesn't have to be Christian, but just the fact that so much religious stuff is coming through, that doesn't often happen, honestly. So I feel like that's something. But this card, for some reason, when I was looking at the imagery of it, it is reminding me of a story about Jesus, where he is hanging out with essentially prostitutes and homeless people and drunks, and he is like washing their feet and putting perfume on them. That's what this is making me think of. You underneath are so much more than just this image of perfection, or the image of what is angelic, what is perfect, like what you're so much deeper than that. You're more like Jesus in the sense that it's like what I said before, where kids don't really necessarily judge things immediately as like what is wrong or what is right. Things aren't that black and white because they're like they don't know what anything is, so they're just open and curious and taking information in, right? They're not necessarily filtering it through too much or filtering what they even share too much in the same sense. And they can be super critical, but it's more in an innocent way, like they just say what they see and it can come off as harsh, but there's also an acceptance. Like they don't, like a child could walk up to a prostitute or a homeless person or whatever and just be a child with them, right? And they wouldn't have the same mm, they just see another human, you know? It's just like the anointing and washing of the feet, like the Pharisees, who were like the super religious, judgmental assholes, basically in biblical day, they were like looking at Jesus. They're like, this person's insane, right? Like, you are wasting, number one, you're consorting with people from the wrong side of the tracks, to say the least. Number two, you are wasting this expensive oil and you are essentially serving them what is happening, right? But all Jesus saw was another human. And I feel like the face underneath for you is just very all accepting. It's very open, it's very loving. It's very it serves, and it kind of wants to walk away from everything that is not like that. You know, that is not just honestly loving, purely loving. So why is there shame attached to this? Because this is beautiful to me. This face is beautiful. Like this part of you that's so accepting and just wants to, maybe you feel called to connect with and care for people who are like part of a marginalized group, or maybe um you naturally resonate more with people who have stories that are gritty, you know, or you just, maybe you just appreciate people who are real, you know, people who aren't trying to be something, they're just being, or they're not trying to look like something, they're just being, right? Because the freedom in that. But it's kind of like you're showing me that, yeah, you're so open-minded that you're like anything that's not, though, it's almost like this, I'm bored or I'm very emotionally unfulfilled by the lack of love and open-mindedness. So that's your despicable face, which is interesting. So let's look at the root of shame tied to this, because I want to know where that's coming from. Okay. So for some of you, it's the Queen of Cups. For some of you, this is a mother figure or some sort of feminine energy in your life. It doesn't have to be, though. But the Queen of Cups is the archetype that I, along with the Empress and the Major Arcana, sort of contribute to being the mother figure. So the root of shame is someone, and I heard someone that should have loved you. But at the same time, the Queen of Cups is in the upright, so I feel that whoever this is, they did the best that they could to love you, or they loved you how they know how to love. It's like they weren't like outright cruel or abusive or anything like that. They were, and they genuinely did care for you and maybe do care for you. Let's get more about this Queen of Cups, though. Is this the root of shame? High Priestess in reverse. Okay. Well, this is someone who's quick to judge others. But I think that it's because someone deceived them at some point. Like someone specifically lied to them or deceived them. And it's almost as though they were afraid that if they didn't see, like from that point on, they were more cognizant about trying to see through people's bullshit. And at some point along the way, that turned into judgment, I feel. Because this person isn't highly intuitive. Um, this is more like uh, thinking about something, not having intuition about it. So this judgment was happening in like the logical mind more so, right? Not saying that their judgment was logical always, but that's the part in like the human brain part that's where this was happening. So more like analyzing or scrutinizing or trying to put pieces together, but not so much intuitive. So yeah, this is someone who overthinks a lot as well. And this could be you too, if this isn't someone connected to you. Then the root of shame is unconditional love. So it's interesting then because there's a part of you, if this is just you, that knows that you actually hold love for literally everything. And again, this is very innocent and childlike, angelic energy. It's like it is unconditional love, right? It's again, it's not seeing anyone as less deserving and not tying some sort of hidden cost or price tag to your love. Not saying if you look like this or act like this, then I have love for you, because that's not really love, right? And this is what you have underneath, but for some reason there's some sort of shame connected to that. So I feel like at some point you were taught that it was not okay to love a certain kind of person, and if you did, then there was something that was a reflection back on you poorly in some way. You know what I mean? Because I don't know any other reason why you would attach shame to being so accepting of everybody, unless also, okay, this has gotten you into trouble at points in your life. Okay. So you have been deceived potentially as well by people that you assumed the best in because you were so openly. You have a very pure heart, whoever I'm talking to, like naturally pure, in that your first instinct is not to assume the worst. It's like you've held on to that childlike part of you, like I was saying before, which is the part that kind of just sees things as they are, honestly, without all the labels and bullshit. Because any of us can show up as like a saint or a sinner on any given day, right? It's like that quote, every sinner has a every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. Nothing is written in stone. We have free will, we change, we shift. And you know this, but the shame, I think, for some of you came from either being taught that it's not okay to love everyone because not everyone is lovable based on someone else's experiences and definition of that, right? From getting hurt. They then taught you that. Or for some of you, you experienced, like I said, it's almost like your love created an intuitive blind spot a little bit before you had healthy boundaries and healthy discernment that balanced that out. So you may have made some judgment calls where you were just trying to give people the benefit of the doubt or just love them because you just wanted to love everybody, you know? You were just like one of those people that's like, I'm here to bring as much love as possible. And man, this relatable. Like, yes, I understand. So you could have loved someone who hurt you or who weaponized your heart against you, essentially. And then that is where the shame connection came in. It's almost like it made you feel stupid for something that I feel like up until that point that you got really hurt, you were more proud of it than ashamed of it, I feel. Okay, let's look at Spirit's perspective on this. It's the Nine of Cups. I feel like you have so much to give, but it's like you are the gift here. You are the gift. Your heart is the gift that keeps on giving. Your heart is the gift that keeps on giving. What's the Nine of Cups? What's the Nine of Cups? Ooh. It's the Star. Look at you. Spirit is literally like, do you even know how bright you shine? Because your heart is beautiful. And this energy is it's not the easiest to come by in this world, you know? This energy was a gift to you. It was like literally put in you so that you could share that. And it's interesting because that story about Jesus came through at the beginning of the reading, and literally his whole like thing, his entire mission was just love. Literally. If you summarize it in one word, it's just love. And that's what I see here for you, honestly. All of your cups are full. Your heart is full. And it's bright and it's beautiful and it's meant to be open and overflowing. And I feel like you have insight and discernment now that you didn't have because you did have a blind spot and you learned the lesson, you know? Sometimes we have to learn a lesson the hard way and then we never repeat that again, right? And sometimes we learn lessons the hard way ultimately for our own protection, like down the road. Because if we didn't learn the lesson, something bad would happen, you know? But no, this is, some of you are just earth angels straight up. Because look at this, like, come on. So you're here to love, you're here to spread the love. You don't need to be ashamed of this. You are definitely here to just kind of ush and gush all of that as much as possible. I love that so much for you. But that's what I'm seeing for you in regards to your despicable face. What a way to kick off the reading. Nothing despicable about this face at all, okay? You stinking little... That's me coming in and squeezing your cheeks, by the way, in case you were wondering. I love you so much. I hope that you're doing well. I hope this resonated and gave you some insight into you. Let's see what's going on. Let's look at your accepted face and your despicable face. Despicable Me. That's such a good movie. I watched that movie approximately 5,000 times with my nephew because he was at that age when it came out, and I used to babysit him a lot, so I remember watching that like basically on a daily basis with him for a while. The minions, you know, they're cute. So let's see. So I'm going to pull a card for you to sort of look at what your accepted face is that you essentially feel comfortable like putting out into the world. And I'm gonna pull you one of these archetype cards and some tarot cards as well. I don't know if you are gonna hear the train, but there is one passing. Okay, that came out really fast. I'm also going to read you the description for the archetype that comes out, just to really, excuse me, just to really dig into what that is. Okay, so just give me 1 second. Why is my throat doing this? Okay. And I think we need one more, unless one went under the chair. Nope. So we need one more. Ooh, okay, there it is. Okay. Okay. Let's see what's going on for you. All right. So, okay, the archetype card that you guys got is the One. The One. And it came out with the Ace of Swords. This is pretty powerful. So let's read what this says about the One first, and then we'll dig into it a little bit more, okay? So again, yeah, this is the face that you feel most comfortable being open with or showing the world. So 121. Okay, so it says the One, non-duality, one love, unus mundus. Our ability to experience this archetype firsthand is limited. It comes in brief and potent moments that we are left to savor for a lifetime. The One is both the energy that unites all living beings and our capacity to sense this intimate union. This archetype eludes us most of our lives, appearing as a concept in a distant galaxy. Yet when we are in the midst of its power, a solemn reverence falls across all the land. We glimpse ourselves in the vastness of all consciousness and are neither small nor large within that field. We are neither important nor unimportant. All duality fades away, and we are left with what is, the precious knowing that life is a gift, and we are both the giver and the receiver of this fortune. So, light elements, serving, loving, accepting, and resonating. When dark or in its shadow, it's ignoring, omitting, and excluding. Okay. So, and it says the unus mundus is a circle representing the unity of existence. Is it possible that the beginning and the end of all things is love? I don't know why, but I feel kind of like I want to cry reading about that. And I actually do know why. It's because this is the energy of God. This is the energy of spirit, right? This is the energy of source. It's accepting all, loving all, and just holding all, right, within it. It is, it's beautiful. And you have it with the Ace of Swords, which is just essentially knowing this truth, is what that's coming through as. It's like knowing that life is a gift and that we are. This is kind of reminding me of those moments, like it says, when it's like, this is an energy that you experience in like a brief, potent little, and then it like, it kind of like hits deep with the potency of that moment, and it sort of changes your whole perspective or the way that you are seeing yourself within the bigger picture of things, maybe. This makes me think of those moments that really put things into perspective for us as humans. So, like maybe a near death experience, or maybe the birth of your first child, or maybe, yeah, the passing of a loved one. You know, it's like those moments when you feel, like it said, like kind of both big and small at the same time. You realize that you're just a speck in existence, but also you have so much power with your free will to do whatever you want, to assert your energy and to change your life, to change the world, you know, whatever you kind of decide you want to do. And we are both of those things, right? We are both like the tiniest little speck in the universe, and we are also divine. So it's like we're both big and small at the same time. Those things do exist, coexist. So, you know, because duality is just part of the human experience, right? But with source, it's up above that with non-duality. So this is the face that you feel comfortable putting forwards or showing other people. So you don't feel comfortable being judgmental, which I feel like is a good thing overall. I mean, judgmental, not in the sense of like having good judgment, but judgmental in the sense of being, yeah, like toxic in a way that hurts people or tears, you know, what am I trying to say? Like breaks apart units, right? There's kind of like an all accepting energy here where you feel comfortable being someone that can see everyone for who they are and kind of hold space for them is what I'm feeling here. Is there anything else about that? This is kind of saint-like energy though. So the Seven of Swords in reverse. There's definitely something here about truth. The Ace of Swords and the Seven of Swords in reverse, because this is about truth and this is about seeing through illusion. So it's also interesting. There's something coming through about, it's like, it's interesting though. It's almost like universal truth with the one, not so much individual truth is what you feel more comfortable with showing. So you might not feel super comfortable holding strong opinions of personal truth. You might feel a lot more comfortable being in this kind of in between space where you're perfectly balanced all the time, or you feel like you have to almost be like very diplomatic. And diplomacy is great, but it's also good to have your own beliefs, values, morals, truths that you kind of like standards that you hold your own life to, right? Okay, so that is your accepted phase. Your despicable phase is the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. So let's see. What's the Queen of Pentacles in reverse? Oh, that card just shot right underneath my chair. I have to get up and get that. But it's interesting because this is coming through as like, oh, there it is. It's coming through as you, your most insecure self. So that could be for many different reasons, right? That you, this is just coming through as in like your the space you're most insecure, um, the space you feel the most lack personally. And it's interesting because this is coming through as the despicable face, or the face that the part of yourself that you find the hardest to radically accept and be open with the world about. I think that it's because if you admitted or showed other people that you had insecurities and that you felt that you were lacking, then that would almost be an admission that you are also aware that other people have things that they to be insecure about and things that are lacking. Do you know what I mean? Because it's kind of impossible to notice that in yourself but not understand that that also exists in other people. It's kind of like people who are critical of others, they're critical with themselves. That's where it starts. We learn behavior usually by being it to ourselves, or having someone else be that way to us. Sometimes we carry the torch after someone exhibits a kind of behavior towards us. But this is interesting because it's showing me that it's like you're ashamed of the spaces within yourself that feel lack or feel insecure or feel small or maybe uncared for. Okay. Anything else about this? Despicable face. The Five of Cups in reverse. So you have the Five of Pentacles and the Five of Cups together. So there's a place where you're still moving out of grief. Like you're not making moves out of a space of grief, but you're still moving yourself out of a state of grief that you were in. And in this space, you still feel lack or you feel insecure. Maybe that this grief took something from you. And you're still basically rebuilding yourself in this place. But this is coming through as like an emotional woundedness that happened, but it had physical fallout. So this would be like if you were married and then you got divorced and then your finances shifted or you struggled more with finances or something, physical stability after that. Or this could be, it doesn't have to be that. It could be anything that struck you in an emotional way, but it made you feel lack in a physical way. This could also be like, let's say you lost a pet or you lost a loved one or you went through a breakup, and then while you were in that state of grief, your physical health suffered. That could be something as well. But it's showing me that the face that you are ashamed of is a face that is one that knows grief and it knows instability and it feels as though something was taken from it. And we all have this to some degree, obviously, because we all go through these experiences in our own way. But that's what it's telling me, is that the face that you have the hardest time, or the part of yourself that you have the hardest time accepting and being open about. So the root of shame connected to that is the King of Wands here. I don't know why this is coming through a specific way, but let me just clarify a little before I say too much with that. For some of you, it's that this King of Wands energy is like, you feel like you have to always be super confident and like you know what you're doing even when you don't, and you have it all together and you're fearless. Not just courageous, but fearless. Like the fear isn't even allowed to exist. The insecurity isn't allowed to exist. You're not allowed to try. You just have to do and succeed, and this was something that's where the shame is. It's like you don't feel like you're even allowed to feel insecure because there's this sense that you're supposed to have it together all the time and approach life this way, even though that's not reality. So let's see, for anyone, literally anyone. um, let's see. Let's clarify it a little. Tell me more with the King of Wands. 6 of Pentacles. Yeah, one more. 4 of Wands in reverse. No, I heard what goes around comes back around. The root of shame. What goes around comes back around. So what? It's like you're concerned that if you put this energy out, you're just going to perpetuate it, or that's what you're going to be calling back to you. That's where the root of shame is almost. It's like, well, if I focus on the insecurity, then the insecurity is just going to be what grows. So I have to pretend that it's not there. Yeah, that's kind of how it's coming through. I have to pretend that it's not there, that there is no unstable ground beneath this surface, because the more that I focus on it, the more that is going to be what expands, is kind of what this is saying. But I almost feel as though either you somehow drilled it into your own head at some point or someone else did, that you kind of just always have to be in this is like toxic positivity, you know? Spiritual bypassing type toxic positivity stuff where it's like you just have to be in this like woo, like you're Tony Robbins 24/7 or some shit like that. And it's just, not only would that be extremely annoying, but it's not realistic, you know? There's something about that though, where it's, again, it's like, don't try, just succeed every time. And it's almost like that overachiever dad that like pushes you to, I don't know, be in every sport, and you have to be at the, you have to win the, or get the winning goal of every game. It's like kind of coming through like that. So maybe some of you had that, or maybe some of you did kind of take in some sort of spiritual advice or something that was like, if you just repeat spiritual affirmations that are positive, like 300 times a day, then your life will be golden, you know? But it's obviously a lot more than that, right? Because those things that point us to only focus on the positive, we're missing half of the equation. It's great to focus on the positive more than the negative, obviously, because then, you know, you don't want to be like a pessimist that's just like walking around with a storm cloud over your head all the time. There has to be balance. You can't like pretend that there is no duality to life, because then you're just ignorant, right? And you can't pretend that there is no shadow within you, because then the shadow stays unconscious and then it has a lot more power over you. Actually, it can wreak a lot more havoc when you refuse to look at it. But this kind of coming through as like, yeah, toxic masculine energy as well, a little bit with this King of Wands, where it's just like, if I don't know, I'm just going to pretend that I know even more and be even more aggressive and assertive. Not admit that I don't know, not admit that I'm not confident. But really, that is what it is to be human, and every single one of us experience that, even the people that act like they don't, right? So, okay. Spirit's perspective of this whole thing here is the Eight of Pentacles. The Ten of Wands came out to clarify as well. This is something you've worked on a lot within yourself. already, because it's something that has been a burden on you. I feel like this is something that was put on you partially. This isn't something that you just put on yourself. This feels very much like an influence that came in maybe when you were, I don't know, either in a vulnerable space or a child, like going through something that made you were vulnerable, like a divorce or like a sickness or something, you know. It doesn't matter what it was really, but it has felt heavy. And I feel almost like it deeply impacted you, but you've carried the torch of it a little bit. And I don't think it's by choice. I think you're trying to drop this and work through it because you realize that it is detrimental to you to carry this. Because the thing is, too, when we get really good at perpetuating this idea that we're fine all the time, that we don't need help because we know everything and that we can always do it on our own, then we shut ourselves off from help. So, let me see a little bit. But this is something that you very much have worked on already, and it's because you have felt the burden of it on you. Native bones and reverse. It might be something that you feel like you're stuck right now with. Like this is something you're currently struggling with, and you maybe feel as though the energy in this particular part of your healing hasn't been shifting or moving that much lately. No matter how much work you try to put into it, you could feel like you keep running up against a struggle surrounding this. But I feel like yeah, look, it's the Lovers and the Two of Pentacles in reverse. This is literally just unconditional love and making the choice to act out of it even when you don't feel like you deserve it, you know? So, literally, Spirit's perspective and what they're saying is just you've already worked on this enough, but there's a trap even in like working on it because you feel like there's a trap in the belief that you always have to be working on fixing or healing yourself. That's what I'm trying to say, right? Because then that just sort of amplifies this belief that you're not already enough, that you're not just worthy of this unconditional love without judgment, without limits, because you are. And that is the truth, right? And I feel like you have these pockets of knowing in your life, again, that come in very strongly. You've either had one, but I feel like most of you've had more than one experience that's kind of like really blasted your eyes open and made you realize, no, this is the truth, the truth. You are me, I am you, I am that person down the street, you know, everything's intricately interconnected. We truly are one within the circle of existence, this really shitty circle that I made with my hands. Doesn't look like a circle very much, but we're all one within that circle of existence, right? So, what Spirit is really saying is the next step to drop this weight is not to work on it more. It's not to try to move the energy. It's just to make the choice that when these places pop up that you struggle the most to love, your first instinct doesn't need to be, how do I heal this, right? What can I do to better myself? How can I do some self improvement so that I feel less uncomfortable looking at this despicable face? It's more, when it comes up, it's more to sit with it and to hold space for it and to just, no matter what is shown to you in the mirror, say, I accept you and I love you. You're a part of me and there's nothing wrong with you, right? So that's the next step. It's not to do more. It's not to work harder. It's just to offer this space a little bit of room to breathe and some love. It's easier said than done, I know. But that's what Spirit is saying. You've done the work on this that you could do already. And the part that feels heavy now is the part that you're meant to just kind of lay it down, you know? And this is also, I feel like saying it's kind of like a lifelong process, right? So this isn't something that you just heal and then it's done. We all struggle with complete acceptance of ourselves and loving all parts of ourselves, which is why I'm doing this reading. And each and every sign that comes in this reading, right? We all have our different things. And there's a million other things that won't even show up in this reading that we have that we struggle to love and accept in ourselves. So that in itself is not a source of, or should not be a source of shame. We're ultimately all just doing the best that we can to love ourselves, right? And to remember that the truth is we are all worthy of that unconditional, no strings attached love, just the way that we are, not perfect, because that was never part of the plan. Grace was part of the plan. And in order to have grace, you have to have something that needs grace offered to it. I hope that that was helpful in some sort of way. By the way, if you hear noise in the background, it's most likely my Rottweiler, Django. He's heavy breather, loud drinker, stinky farter, you know, all of the above. My big Rottweiler puppy. So, but thank you for hanging out with me. I hope this reading was helpful to you. Like I said, I hope it gave you some meaningful insight. Okay. One more. Let's get into this. So we're going to look at your accepted face first, the face that you are comfortable with putting out to the world, the face that maybe you kind of like lead with. This can be part of the ego, right? But not in a bad way. Just, you know, we all have it. So I pulled a tarot and an archetype card, and I'm going to read the archetype just to like dive deeper into the energy for you. But you guys got the Shadow and the King of Pentacles. This is the accepted face, or like the mask, you could see it as, but really it's an accurate part of yourself. But it's just one part of yourself. So it's not necessarily something you fake. It's something that is coming out of you, right? But it's not the end all be all of who you are. The King of Pentacles and the Shadow. Ooh, the shadow of the King of Pentacles. But then why would the King of Pentacles not just come out in reverse? Things a Scorpio rising asks. All right. I'm going to read this. So it says the shadow, the unspeakable, the unwelcome, the denied. Although every card in the archetypes deck has a shadow potential, this card asks us to delve into the qualities of the shadow itself. We often think that the shadow can be purified, illuminated, and made right through effort and achievement. However, it's typically the case that our lofty pursuit of ascension and perfection is the very source of shadow material itself. By rejecting parts of ourselves and the world, we begin to separate from the whole. Rather than getting to know the qualities and content of our shadow, we busy ourselves with avoiding its presence. This is denial. I like how it's just so cool. This is denial, period. When this card appears, it's time to take inventory of those things you've been denying. When the mind responds with no, anything but that, you are touching shadow. Find support for this deep inner work and move toward the shadow with patience and compassion. This is Scorpio season. So the light element of this archetype is revealing unconscious aspects of the self and the world. And when dark, it is denying unconscious aspects of the self and the world. In the shadow of the gods are the very gods themselves. Reflect on this statement by James Hillman in A Blue Fire. What do you despise about yourself? By answering, you move toward shadow. The despicable face. It also says, contemplate the following scientific observation. The closer an object is to the light, the longer the shadow it casts. It actually kind of changed my life when I heard that for the first time. So, yeah. This is the part of you that's literally like, it's all good, baby, baby, you know? This is the part of you that is so in denial of the shadow that it's like you're just not comprehending it. You're almost like putting yourself in that slightly manic state where you're just, it's the manic pixie fairy dust. Okay. Can you tell me more about this accepted face? But this is also the part of you I feel like that. Oh, yeah, we're getting into it now. This is also the part of you that like projects. It's almost like you curate and project a specific shadow that you want the world to. It's like you're so fucking smart, right? You know what your true shadow is, and in order to divert attention away from it, you create like this little guy holding his little pentacle. You create or curate the shadow that you wish people to perceive, that you see as being like a lesser version of the real thing, or it's not your true insecurity, so you don't get hurt the same way when people like try to hit you there thinking that it will bother you, but you're like, aha, I put in place this fake shadow, yeah, because see, then people's judgment doesn't fucking get to you. This is a way of safeguarding your heart. So your accepted face, or the mask that you're comfortable putting forwards, is a lesser version of your true shadow. It's a mix between that. I feel like you go between that and just like phases when you're pushing forwards and you kind of pretend that you don't have a shadow at all because you're just like, I can't let that weigh me down right now, It's like toxic positivity, or focusing too much on the light and pushing the shadow away instead of letting that shadow also empower us and fuel our way forwards, because we're working with it. Because actually by denying it, you're repressing it, and that takes energy, right? So you can actually work with your shadow in a constructive way, work with your real shadow in a constructive way, and let it empower and fuel you more than seeing it as something that you have to like run away from or divert attention from. Okay. The despicable face, or what is underneath your mask, is the Two of Swords in reverse. You know exactly how you feel about yourself, and you're like, I'm that bitch. I'm a savage. Like... Bad bitches say what? You know, right? That you're this bad bitch. Why is this your most despicable face that you don't really want anyone to see? Let me tell you why. Part of it is that you were wounded when you were little or young, or you didn't have to be super little. You should know and think that you're a cool person. You should enjoy your own presence. You should want to spend time with yourself. That's healthy, but people tear you down because of that. It's that genuine confidence of the Queen of Wands. Everyone loves to villainize the Queen of Wands because she is that bitch. She's like the Angelina Jolie, where she's not even trying. She's just like exuding the fire, So this is actually the part that you have the hardest time. Your genuine confidence surrounding the parts of yourself that you know and love the most. Like when you're spending time with yourself, when you're just chilling, catching a vibe with you. What's the part of yourself that you love hanging out with most? Which version of you do you bring out the most often, that you are like, this my shit, Like, is it the part of you that twerks naked in the bathroom while you're brushing your teeth in the morning? Is it like, what part of it is you? What part of it is you? What part of you is it? Or is it like the culmination where you just let yourself flow and, you know, be whatever in any moment? This part, or just you, who you are when you are decisively confident and just in your zone, that is ironically the part or the version of you that you struggle the most with showing. And I think it really is because people villainize it and you've been hurt. That's too bad. I understand. The root of shame that's tied to this is the Two of Pentacles in reverse. You made a choice at some point. You definitely knew how you felt. Yeah, you had a strong feeling guiding you and you made a choice. But I feel like something deflated you here. Maybe it made you feel ashamed of a leap that you took in confidence, like someone turned you down, rejected you, or made you feel stupid or gaslit you or something like this. And so you were like, I can't trust my confidence, or maybe you showed someone this most like authentic and open, free-flowing, non-filtered version of you, and they used it against you, like they criticized it, or they weaponized it against you, or used it to fuck you up in the head, like gaslit you. This is some narcissist shit. It doesn't have to be, but I'm just saying some of you maybe have experienced that. Strength. Someone made you think that your love of yourself is ego. That's why I was picking up the narcissist vibes, because that's the difference, right? Narcissists don't actually love themselves. They actually despise themselves. They hate themselves. And so they have to exist in this overinflated sense of ego all the time because they don't have the real thing. That's the difference. So then when they find people that have the real thing, they immediately hate them and want to suck them dry of that. They want to eat that energy for themselves to fuel their own ego and make them feel empowered. But they also want to they lack it. So they don't want to be around anything that has it naturally flowing, right? They're like offended by that. It reminds them of how much they don't feel like they love themselves. So, I don't know. The world could kind of be like this. We sometimes get triggered by other people being in their power, or we get triggered by people mirroring back things at us that we feel like we lack in ourselves. But yeah, I feel like someone made you feel stupid for loving yourself, for being confident. They maybe tried to hit you in your ego as well. Like take you down a couple pegs, put you in your place. And the thing is, I feel like it did hurt you. You maybe didn't show it. You maybe went into this, but I feel like this was triggered because it did actually hurt you. And it did actually hit you in this place that you try hard to hide. Or maybe that's just how this shadow King of Pentacles was initially cultivated from this. Okay, so Spirit's whole perspective on all of this is the Page of Pentacles in reverse. I feel like the Page of Pentacles in reverse, there's something that it was a lesson. It was a learning experience, sometimes things don't work out to teach us a lesson, because we could never learn that lesson if things went, it's like they have to go in a way that we perceive as bad, or we perceive as losing, or we perceive as painful, because the higher perspective is like, that is, we had to learn the lesson that way. There was no alternative for it to like sink or integrate the way needed, right? And I feel very strongly that this was a lesson in the past, and Spirit is just saying there's nothing wrong with you. There's also something here about you're very protected. You don't always have to lead with this like big daddy, bad bitch energy. There's this beautiful, open, childlike, magical side of you that I think sometimes you feel like you can't let it just run and play, because like there be, you know, pedophiles and murderers and all sorts of crazy things in this world. And you're like, no, must helicopter parent this part of myself at all times. But Spirit is like, we got you. Like, we got your back, boo. You know? Tell me more about this Page of Pentacles in reverse, Spirit. The Fool. You can walk lightly, my friend. You don't have to worry. You're protected. Spirit's not going to let you walk off any cliffs. You're meant to be very free. And the thing is, like, reinfusing that free, liberated, childlike part that kind of just naturally dissolves injustice and heavy energy. It's like you naturally just transmute heavy shit when you're in that energy, because it's vibing so high. It's such a high frequency. It's so pure. You know that Spirit has got you. You know that you are Spirit. You know that you've got yourself. You know that everything that happened for a reason, and that it wasn't personal. You know that love is not the same as arrogance or narcissism, you know. And you know that your love of self is not hurting anybody. And even if it's triggering people, it's ultimately helping them. Right? But Spirit's very much got you. Anything else? And it's ultimately through being in that energy that you kind of heal the shame, right? It's like it's not about healing the shame and then being in this carefree energy of the Fool. It's about just putting yourself back in that energy, because that is your true nature. And as you reinfuse that magic and that childlike sense of wonder and just kind of like flowing through life like you do, assuming the best, or yeah, not expecting anything, but hoping for the best. That is how the healing's actually going to happen on a deeper level. It's not something that you need to worry about doing before you move forwards. And it's not bypassing either. You are healing yourself. It's innately in you to heal yourself. All you have to do is just keep flowing and functioning in this beautiful energy. That's it. This is your baseline. Your baseline is love. There's nothing that love doesn't heal. Okay. So it looks like it's time for a new leap into even deeper levels of the ooey gooey heart stuff. That's what I'm seeing. I love you so much. Yeah, because the thing is, this weight that you're holding on to, it's stopping you from manifesting the levels of happiness and emotional fulfillment in your life that you truly deserve. So It's okay to love yourself. Promise. In doing so, you actually show other people how to love themselves, or if not how to love themselves, you show them that it's okay to, in a world that makes you feel like you have to hate yourself because they benefit off of you hating yourself. You know what I'm saying? So